Rudy here, and just like for the Super Cup, we do a season review, and this time it's for the Carrera Cup. Same team, Huber Racing, so on that front was familiar, but then the races were obviously different with different competitors, different racetracks, and then different results, so let's go. First race of the year, Spa-Francorchamps, and looking back at Spa, it has always been a headache place for me. I don't know what it is. If I knew I would fix it, but for some reason me and Spa is just no match. P9 and P7 in qualifying, and also P9 and P7 in the race. It's been a while, so I need to kind of dig back at the moment, but I know that the first race was one of the fights again with Max van Splunteren. Seems that we always find each other in Spa, and this was one of those races again, followed each other the whole race. In this case, I couldn't get by him, so he finished P8, I finished P9, but just one of these races again. Brakes slightly overheating, tires overheating, and just stuck in the position which you're in, basically. Second race was a better one. There was a bit of argy-bargy going on in front of the field at the start, which I could find my way through, and actually temporarily, I think it was P5, before Lottie came by, back to P6, and then the most frustrating moment of the whole race happened in the last lap, where I locked up in Stavelo 1. Yes, Stavelo 1. And actually lost another position in the last lap, 3 corners from the end, and finished P7. So, yeah, this was a tough one to start the season, because obviously you want to start on a high and then go on from there. And for us in Spa, it was just difficult all over. And one of these weekends, which was the case of okay, close the book and let's forget this one really soon. Race 2, Red Bull Ring. Better place to be in Spa. Beautiful environment, cool racetrack to be on, but then also really difficult to master. Only a few corners, really tight field in qualifying, and this was the thing that held us back this weekend. During testing we were strong as in consistently top 5, but then in the qualifying I messed it up and it ended up with a double P8, which then on a track like this also means that you get into a difficult fight in the race. It's a lot of slipstreaming, brakes become a limiting factor, and then in the end it becomes a train. One of the things I do remember from this weekend is that in the pre-season and the early races, one of the things I really struggled with was tire degradation. And this was the first race, race 1 in Red Bull Ring, where I didn't lose the front. Yes, for sure, I was not in the top 3, but let's say I was within 5 seconds of where I wanted to be in the finish, whereas on previous races this has been 10 to 15 seconds. So I remember myself being happy after the first race, saying, okay, it was a good fight, and for the first time we are starting to click something with the tires and getting a feel where I am tire wear wise in the race to optimize it towards the end. So it was a hard fought P8, but it was a good one. And then in the second race, yeah, train, fight, P8. I don't remember exactly what happened. Maybe I should have looked it back before recording this interview, but I know that P8 was obviously not what we came for, but the highlight of the second race was not me. This was the Huber Racing team getting a 1-2-3 with Laurent winning, Morris becoming second, and Michael Ammermüller getting P3, which obviously, as from a team point of view, this is mega. And for my case with the P8, yes, I was not happy, but sometimes you got to bite the stick and accept it, and also, let's say, enjoy someone else's fortune, which was definitely the other side of the tent. But it was cool to witness that a team can achieve such a thing in Germany. Third race of the season, on to Italy, to Imola. From a driver point of view, in my eyes, one of the coolest tracks to drive on. From the first meeting we did here actually for the pre-season Super Cup test, to free practice, to name it. This track with the chicanes, how you jump over them with a Cup Porsche. Really, really cool. Strong free practice, and then in the qualifying we were first time in the year up for something really good until a competitor in front of me locked up in the second to last corner. Caused the yellow flag, well, you name it. P10 and P7 for the qualifying, which was really, really disappointing. Really eager in the first race, mega charge to the front, and actually within 6 laps I was in P4. Safe in P4, I should say, before a safety car came out and I got caught from behind into the first corner. Bit of argy-bargy happened, someone went through the gravel, and then P6 in the end. So frustrating race. Didn't agree what happened on track, for sure. But sometimes this also happens in racing, and sometimes it goes left, sometimes it goes right. In this case, I went from P4 to P6 on the restart, and it felt like I didn't get what I deserved in this race, because the charge was good, all the passing in the early laps were good, and then only getting a P6 while you were comfortably in P4 before the safety car is frustrating. But like I said, this also belongs in the racing. Then the second race. Let's say me and my teammate did not agree with each other in the first lap and made each other's life really hard. Taking both of our front splitters off, resulting in a race with a lot of understeer. For me, it ended up with a P8, which considered the situation was okay, but for sure, even a P6 in race 1, but also not P8 in race 2, did not justify what we had in pace this weekend. I've been in race weekends like Spa, where I say, okay, I just lack pace. But here in Imola, we had the pace to be competitive, and it even showed without the splitter in the second race. But because of the happenings in the first lap, we were already too far back. Fourth round of the season, home Grand Prix, Zandvoort. Well, you can imagine what I was thinking before this weekend. Last year we were on the podium. Normally we are competitive in Zandvoort. Let's add another one. Well, the fate had a different idea. Qualifying, drying track. We actually started on rain tires, but after 2 laps we already boxed for slicks. And well, you can imagine with drying track gets quicker every lap. So when it mattered on the last 3 laps, 3 times into traffic, and it's very easy now to point fingers, but I ran into Pro-Am cars in this case, and they also tried to do their lap times, but that hurt. This really hurt. I lost over a second in both laps, and if you do the match, you know where you can end up. But for me, the result was P12 and 11, and let's say the luck in qualifying continued in Germany. So first race, P12, really good launch off the line, but then I made the biggest driver error of the year. I braked too late, locked the rear wheels, and actually just shoot the other competitor off track, which therefore I got a drive-through, went all the way to the back, safety car came out, charged through the field, got to P11, so still managed to get some points, but this was in a way where we had really good speed to go forward, but I was just not happy what happened in the first lap. So blame was fully on me. Got the penalty, but obviously I get a penalty, I still get some points, whereas the driver in question gets taken out of the track and out of the race. So didn't feel correct, but happens in racing. Second race, P11 start, good launch, mega fight forward, up to P4. Plenty of action in the race, plenty of, let's say, door by door, mirror against mirror, everything you want from a cup race. And to get a P4 from P11 was special. This felt really good. And I remember at the time of thinking, okay, maybe this is a turning point in the season to get some luck in the German Championship, because it's been a while that it went my way in Germany. But like I said, race was good, the fights were good, charge was good, and at this point in the season we started to go a slightly different direction in setup, which seemed to work for me, and therefore also the race pace improved. And yeah, left reasonably happy, knew what was in the bag if we would have started front, but I needed to be better and qualified to execute on that. Nürburgring, beautiful German Eifel. Love-hate relationship with this track. Whereas in the testing it was really good, free practice was really good, but I had a tire advantage, and then the qualifying was P6 and P9, so I was in the middle. Struggling with the car in this weekend, trying to get the balance right, but just couldn't get the sweet spot. First race was strong from a driver point of view. Time management was good, got a P5, was even looking at a P4, but couldn't hold on till the end. But yeah, race 1 was good. Sometimes you have races where you don't maybe end up in a position where you want to be, but you know from a, let's say, my input kind of position we did well. Well, this was one of these races. So I could live with the P5 in the end. Then race 2, obviously you aim for the same, slight setup change, but I till this day don't know what happened. The only explanation I have is a bad tire set, because it was so bad from a balance point of view. I completely cooked the tires, it was oversteer everywhere, and just couldn't work with the car. Dropped back to P11, and this was a really difficult one. Whereas on previous races you start taking steps towards something good with the balance of the car, and all of a sudden it just doesn't work. So back to the drawing board, P5 and P11 in the Nürburgring, and still not a weekend, it just went smooth. Sixth race of the season, Lausitzring, one of my favorite tracks on the calendar. I don't know what it is, but if I even think about Lausitzring, I'm like, yeah, this just suits my driving style. I'll be happy driving here. It's bumpy, it's technical, it's old school, no runoffs. In my eyes, how a race track should be. So, test day on Tuesday before the weekend, strong. Thursday, strong. And then in the qualifying, a P5 and a P4, which was not what we came for. Because the whole week we're strong top 4, even in the dry, and normally in the rain I'm really strong, but for some reason in this qualifying just didn't come together. Wrong moment on the track. It was a slight drier moment in the middle, let's say it that way, and which resulted in a 5 and a 4. But this made me really eager to at least show what we have, because First time in a year in a German Cup, we're starting semi up front. So then also the podium or anything is in reach, or at least you charge for it. So first race, rain, difficult start. Before this video, I was not sure I was going to explain this, but let's say there was a miscalculation with tires, which resulted in I needed to start on used tires, and pretty much everybody around me, 99% of the field, was on new tires. A new rain tire works well, or extra good, I should say, for the first 2-3 laps. And every lap this advantage gets less, and then at some point in the race it's equal to, let's say, a good used one. So start the race, and the first 2-3 laps, well, as expected, were really tough. I got overtaken on the left, on the right, but I knew, keep your head in this, you're strong in the race. We changed the car slightly from qualifying, and I could feel like, okay, the balance is good, I just don't have the tire performance to peak on this. And then halfway onwards, the race started to come towards me. The tire problems were gone. Of course, there were multiple safety cars, but I could overtake cars, get to the front, and yes, finally, I should say, the first podium of the year. And then on hindsight, it was quite special to do it in the 100th race of Huber Racing. So happy to give that one to Chris Huber. He puts all of his effort and life into the racing team. So it was special to share the podium with him on that front. I actually got P3 on the line, but then there was a penalty in front of me and got P2. So finally, some proper points, and it felt like finally we got what we deserve. We've been close during the year, but now finally it clicked, and obviously till this day, really happy to tick that podium box again. Podium ticked, but then race 2 was dry, and I had a good start. We're in P4, P5 before there was some, let's describe it as cup racing going on. Before it ended with someone doing an action which was just over the line. Took the inside. I knew he took the inside, but he missed the apex, hit my front wheel, steering house broke, and then the toe link was also off. So let's say the steering wheel was not straight anymore. And from this moment, it was just damage control till the finish. Luckily in dry, our pace in general was strong, so I could hold on to a P6. So ending the weekend with a P2 and a P6 was really good, but for sure the second race had for sure a P4 in it. But overall, if I compare this to the rest of the weekends, at least we had stable points or good points in both races, and then we could also take a little step in the championship and finally start showing what we were pushing for the whole year. 7th round of the season, Sachsenring. Well, just like the Lausitz-Ring, same direction in Germany, but again, a track that I really like. No runoffs, tight, fast, how it should be. Double P7 in qualifying. Was not content, but this was one of the qualifyings where I could also say, okay, I didn't perform as a driver to the optimum to get everything out of it. The heating procedure of the front tires was not correct, so there was more understeer than needed. So yeah, one of these qualifying sessions. Obviously, you always want to blame something, but in this case, it was more to blame on the driver. But during testing, we were fast, so still at this moment, really eager to charge forward. First race, start, good start, but let's say the inside line of the track was like a train, so I had to go outside before a competitor misjudged his braking point and wiped me plus a other competitor off track through the gravel all the way back until the top 10. But then in this process, I made contact with someone. I was to blame for the spin, don't get me wrong. So I got a post-race 30-second penalty back to P28. So the charge was good, the speed was good, I could pass cars, but no points in the end because of this. Race 2, another P7 start. Argy-bargy in the first lap, wrong side in T3-4 up the hill in the Sachsenring, and from there on we were kind of stuck in a train. Fighting with understeer, couldn't be as aggressive as I was in the first race, was constantly nursing the balance to get around, and P8 was everything that was in there. I can look back on the race and argue for the first lap for the track position, yes, but besides that, I say track position, I mean positioning in the fight, I can argue that, which cost me 1 position, but after that there was for sure no speed to do more, so it was what it was, and we end up with, let's say, a gravel excursion and a P8, so some points, but not as much as we aimed/hoped for at the start of the race. End of the season is very near at this point. Hockenheim, last race. P12 and P14 is definitely not where we belong pace-wise, but in the end, this was on the paper, so this is what we got. In both races, good fights, good charge, and especially good speed in the race. But starting this far back, yeah, it's nice to look on the timesheet and see, yeah, we were doing roughly the same times as the leader. We only lost 2 seconds over the whole race distance on pure pace. Yes, nice. But in this case, I'm the one starting in P12 and 14, or the reason we're starting in P12 and 14. So made the weekend really difficult again. The fights though on track, race 1, this was one of the races I came out of the car, okay, P9. Are we here for a P9? No. Are we here for such fight? Yes. on the edge, mirror against mirror, exactly what you expect in a race fight, to be honest, in a cup series like this. So hats off to the other people around me on track. It was enjoyable, and for the second race it was more of the good start, but then having the, let's say, the cup train. So the first lap you have some movement, then I had a contact with a competitor, we both went off, lost 2 positions, gained them back. So a little bit of argy-bargy, but halfway through the race everything was just like in the train, and drove it till the end. But it did sum up the year, and I think the highlight, or the main problem of the year, I should describe it, has been qualifying. Every time I can look back on the results and race pace is there, but optimizing the qualifying, and then every time or most of the time needing to come from, let's say, far into the top 10 or even just slightly out, you just make your life so much more difficult. And I've said this for the last 2 years, and yeah, starting up front is finishing up front. And whereas last year I was more lucky in a qualifying situation, but then really lacked race pace or knowledge how to manage the tires, this is something we really gained this year. But then starting up front is one of the things. But this is always the difficult bit, because I kind of need to show what next year is going to be. And with the work at Red Bull, I don't know. There's multiple options at the moment of recording this video. I will be back on track, but in what type of car, what racing series, I truly don't know at the moment, which in real fairness stresses me out as well. But I know I'll be back, we'll figure something out. But if that's going to be off-road, if that's going to be GT3, if that's going to be Cup, at this moment we're in the middle. And last but not least, a very, very big thank you to Motorsport Games, rFactor2, Hot Dog Group, and last but not least, Chris Huber from Huber Racing. Without you, it would have not been possible. Of course, there are more sponsors, as you'll see on the next screen. I did not forget you, don't worry. But to all of you, a very, very big thank you, and I hope to see you soon.